Good morning to you all. As you guessed, I couldn't sleep this morning, so I jumped out of bed and thought, well, I've got to put a YouTube up. Well, a quick look outside. It looks like it's going to be a nice day. It's a bit cold and frosty, and one of my first chores today is to go down to Sainsbury's and pick up some provisions to last. But anyhow, I thought I'd bring a few bits and bobs together and we'll have a little talk about them. Not too technical, it's just a general talk. Once again, I'm sorry for not having put any phones up or been in the greenhouse much. The reason for not going in the greenhouse much is just there's not much doing at the moment, and being sort of looking forward to Christmas, which in my book is, well, I say happy. It's not a bad time of year, but I don't know. I prefer the summer, the spring, where the sun comes out. And I'm also pleased that that we can remain doing YouTubes, which I wouldn't say it's a disease, but it's certainly, if I can't do a YouTube, perhaps through the computer going wrong, or a video camera goes wrong, although I've got a spare one now, I'd be lost. I really would. I just don't know how we manage. I'm not young by any means, and when I would have, if we had YouTube, when I was a kid, well, the sky would have been the limit, and yeah, we'd have all done daft things. I think I probably would, but as I say, you get older and find out certain things, and you change. But as I say, in those days there was no YouTube, there was no computers. I'm talking about the 1950s, where, if you like, everything was grey. TV was in black and white, if you could afford TV. Well, schooling wasn't bad. I didn't go to a particularly marvellous school, but it did taught me how to do things. Well, I hope it did. One of my regrets is they never taught me a foreign language, and with YouTube it would be a great help that I could have spoken another language, but we manage, and it's good we do. But as I say, to me, YouTube has been a good thing. I know it's got its downsides, the advent of gangs and things sort of promoted, so they say, by YouTube. I don't know, but hopefully I stay on the, what I call the nice side of it, and a chance to show off, I suppose, in a way. We like to show our stuff. We like to show what we know and what we don't know. I, for one, am always learning. Being in my 70s now, I've seen a lot of the world. I'm not very happy the way it's going. I've always said I'm not gonna be political, but I don't know. I worry a lot. Years ago, I went across to the continent, France, Germany, Holland, and the dread was waiting at customs, getting through from one country to another. It was a sheer nightmare. It really was. And then the Prime Minister of the time, which I believe was Edward Heath, he got us into what was then known the common market, and things improved. They did improve. Perhaps it didn't improve for everyone, but it did improve for me. As regards taking money abroad, it was so much easier to get some money changed up to the euros, although we in Britain never did take the euro, but that wasn't a problem. and we'd pop across. It was interesting also that you could go to Ireland. This is Southern Ireland, and they were on the euro, so it made life easier, well, as far as I was concerned. And getting out of the country through Dover, jumped in the old car or the camper that I had at the time, and it was plain sailing. Not a pun. We did sail, but it was good. And also buying stuff out there. We would buy cacti from the nurseries out there because they were slightly different to the English nurseries. They had different plants, and it was quite easy. There was no problems. But now they got this new word Brexit, which, all right, I said I'm not going to be political, but I think we're doing the wrong thing. In my eyes, I can see queuing coming back, difficulties exchanging money, and all the other things that go with it. So, you know, I just don't know. Deep down, I feel that we will remain as we are, but I can't predict the future. No way. Anyhow, end of the little bit of politics. I'm not in politics. Whether I'd make a good Prime Minister, I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Anyhow, let's get back to the actual video that I intended to do. Anyhow, first of all, I won't show these a light. I'm being a lazy son, so my Variac is outside on the other table. But this is intended to just be a very quick video. Mind you, it started off not being very quick. Anyhow, we have a lamp here. It's an oldie. That gives you an idea of the size. It's almost a foot in length, I would think. Well, there's my hand. I haven't got a small hand, but it shows you, gives you an idea of the lamp. I have put this up on the gallery, lighting gallery. I'm going to plug them again. Lighting gallery net, gallery of lamps, and all things lighting. They're the three that I'm in. And also there is a very good telephone forum as well, which is also run in America. Anyhow, end of the advert. Here we've got the name there. It's a Royal Eddie Swan Fullo light, made in England. Now, the word Eddie Swan is obviously made up of Thomas Edison and Joseph Swan, the two, or one of the two pioneers in lamp manufacture. There was others, but they're the two that are normally mentioned. Although they always seem to say that Edison was the first, but in fact he wasn't the first. Out of those two, it was Joseph Swan, who was a chemist up at the Newcastle area, and I think the first house lit with electric lights was Craig House. I think it was Craig House, or some name like that. As I say, I don't remember everything, but I know that was one of the first houses. I'm going off subject. That's an oldie. I think that's probably late 20s, late 1920s. It's mains voltage. You've got there's the cap or base. It's called a Fullo light. Now, interesting to note that the base could easily be touched once it's screwed in, because that could, well, it would become alive if it was on the live side of the circuit. In most cases, lamp holders are wide, so the neutral goes to the outer shell, if you like, and the centre contact is live or active or hot, to give the three terms that are used around the world. Yeah, at the moment we're in England doing that one. Next to it, sadly, this lamp has gone. It's burnt out probably years ago. It shows you how old it is though. It's still worth being in the collection, by Westinghouse, 40 watts, 115, 115 volts. It's got the paper little label on it, and as you can see, it was obviously a very well made lamp. It's black. The filament would have gone the whole length of the lamp, but I say unfortunately it is not a worker. If you look at the end, it's what they call a pip top. That is where the evacuation sealing was done, and in these old lamps they were done by taking the air out, and they call it a pip top. That's that little sealing spike at the end. As I say, that would have been an American lamp, so we've jumped across the pond to America. Now while we're in America, let's have a look at some little, I call them night lights if you like. A friend of mine many years ago, I don't even know if he's still about. If he is and he sees this little video, you know, if he got in contact, it would be nice, but I honestly don't know. These work, it's called a Glimmer Man, that's probably the make. Needless to say, it's made in China, as most of these things are. And it just glows. It must be a luminescent screen. It just glows a gentle, I think this is a gentle green. Another one there. In fact, I thought I had another one as well, but there's the other one. Same idea. This is made by Jellin Nightlight. I'll say it's a few years old. It's got the American standards. UL stands for Underwriters Laboratories, and they always have a listed number. There's what it does, 115 volts at a quarter of a watt, and it's got the typical American two-pin flat plug, which they use the same plug in Japan, but in Japan it's 100 volts as opposed to 110, 120 in America. And lastly, in this little group of night lights, I went mad over one of these. It's called a Robolight, and many years ago, and this is going back to the 50s I think, I was taken across to America because my mother had lived most of her life in America. She's actually born in Canada, so I suppose officially I'm half Canadian. Anyhow, they're taken to visit an aunt and an uncle in America, New Jersey. The town was called Nutley, and then it was called, I think, Nutley 10, New Jersey. Don't ask me what the zip code is now. Anyhow, I was just as mad then as I am now, and first chance I had at looking at various things, lamps, electrical bits and bobs. There was no microwaves in those days. Needless to say, if there was, I would have probably been getting into it and pulling them apart, which you do. Well, I did anyhow. Anyhow, my uncle gave me one of these, plus a couple of lamps, small lamps. I think I've even got them in the collection still. They were GE bulbs. The etch, or the marking on them, was on the inside of the glass, so it never rubbed off, it was always there. But he gave me one of these. It's a neon. I'll probably put this up on YouTube. I might have even, and I'm pretty sure I put it up on the gallery. It's called a Robolight. It's actually, I think it's a 7th. Yeah, I think it's a 7th watt My eyes are still, well, they're good now. I've had my cataracts done, so I should be able to see. There's where it says Robolite. And now the one he gave me I brought back to England and looked after it, but I either lost it or it got broken. I don't know. And ever since then, I've always wanted to get another one of these. And of course they were as rare as hen's teeth. Very rare, in fact. It wasn't until a picture of one of these turned up on Lighting Gallery by one of the Americans, and he had found one in a second-hand shop or a charity type shop, and it was exactly the same thing. And I thought, blimey, I remember that. Anyhow, a year or so after that, I was in my favourite boot sale at Wimbledon, and lo and behold, what should I find? An outlet, a double American outlet. Plugged into it was, as far as I can remember, an American plug and one of these lamps, and that is the one that I'm holding now. So you couldn't imagine how much I felt. I said to the bloke in a way, "Oh, that's a funny thing. I wonder what that is. Oh, that'd be nice. How much is it?" He says, "Oh, it's £1, mate." I've never ever got a pound note out of my pocket faster. It was either a pound note or a pound coin. Pound coin, of course it would have been. Anyhow, that is the one we're looking at now. So it's a Robolite. It's got a little tiny neon bulb inside with a resistor. And if the bulb ever burnt out or became too black, as neons do, you can always change it. You can slide a new one in. The wires are attached to the pins obviously inside, so it is possible to repair it. And another night light is this one here, which is another neon, but as far as I'm concerned it's nowhere near as rare as that bullet job. And this has got the GE name on, but once again it's made in China, the same plug. Anyhow, let's stay across the pond. Mentioned these before. The Americans often use a floor standing lamp that you can have a lamp in it which is on 3 light levels, and this is one of the holders for their mogul size lamps. That's a Goliath Edison screw, and by turning the switch around you can light up the lamp on different intensities. The lamp consists of 2 filaments. You can have the first filament, which is perhaps low watt. It was made in several wattages, and obviously one filament or the other or both together, and that gives you your 3 light levels. The same thing can also be said of this holder, which is perhaps more commonly used now. If you look in there, you'll see there's the normal centre contact, but just above it is another contact, because the lamp that's used has obviously got 3 contacts on it, and this works in exactly the same way. Both these holders are made by Leviton, which is a well-known American maker of plugs and sockets. What I'm talking about, that if you've got the large mogul and you're having difficulty getting a lamp to fit it, I understand they are still being made, or at least they're still available. You can put an adapter in there. Now this adapter will not work with a 3-way lamp in there, it will just work with a standard Edison screw lamp. As you can see, there's the contact in the middle. You've got the shell around the outside, so it's well made job, made of porcelain. I'd say the age of these are probably, I don't know, 1930s. I do remember one of these lamps when I was in America as a kid. Well, I was a kid then. Some say I'm still a kid. Anyhow, and the next door neighbour at the time had one of these lamps. I just couldn't believe it. I looked at it, I thought, oh my God, that is very unusual. Anyhow, one of the filaments of the large lamp blew, and they gave me the old lamp. Don't ask me what happened to it. That was years ago. And they obviously changed it to a new one. But what was interesting to note at the time, the lamp itself was enormous. It was really large. And that was the lamp that would have been a 3-light lamp. Now, I just noticed something on the side here. I'm easy sidetracked on various things. Another, which is not a lamp. I haven't got one of these. This is just part of it. It's a type of Beretta, I think. Now, once again, anyone knows what these are, I'd love to know. I was told they were used in conjunction with a Nernst lamp. That was a very early form of lighting which used rare earth. I suppose thorium being one, cerium perhaps being the other. It was made by AEG, but this was one of the lamps or the part of the circuit which was used. As regards any more info on that, I don't know. So someone out there will probably have an idea. It's called a Nernst lamp. I think I got the name right. It was a very early form of electric lighting. Extremely rare. You do occasionally see them on the gallery. They are definitely a museum piece. I, unfortunately, have not got one. The only connection is that little tube. Anyhow, I want to make this a short video. Anyhow, I'll show you. I often talk about Nixie tubes. Excuse the mess. Got stuff everywhere. We'll end with this anyhow because I don't want this to go on too long. I can actually sit down. I spend a lot of time sat down here looking at the screen at various odds and ends that might be on there. I suppose the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is to go and either check the mobile phone, which I think we've all got these days, or look at the computer screen. The screen's on now of one of my subscribers, and it's quite interesting. As you see, surrounded by bulbs everywhere. Yeah, main reason for coming over here was to show you this. I don't know whether it's working correctly. It's showing a Nixie tube. This is just counting. It should, and I don't remember how to set it up. I'll be honest, although I use the computer or use these things which are set up by pressing buttons, I'm probably of the old school. I don't always pick things up that easily. And although this little unit, it's got the electronics at the base there, should be able to show you the time. Then it shows you the day, I think. I think the days are like numbered, 1 to 7, or actual numbers of the calendar, and the year. That is complicated, and funny enough, I've just found it in my box of bits and pieces that I'm tidying up. I think that's the largest Nixie tube they make. It's one of the Russian ones. There's the tube itself. Oh, it's upside down. I always pick stuff upside down. Yeah, there's the number. Something 18. and you can. I've been very tempted to buy one of the clock kits. 'Cause I love making up kits and things. I used to. It's a way of keeping the hand in, but as I say, with my eyes as they were, not now. Well, there will be once I've got a decent pair of close-up glasses, would be to have another go at making one up. I've got all the stuff, it's all waiting for a new shed. Got soldering irons, solder extractors, all the bits. So you know, I was hoping to do that. But the only problem is you can get a kit. There's one of these kits for this type of size of tube, but it's the actual Nixies. So you're paying about 90 quid for just the circuit and probably a little box to put it in. They look quite nice, but it doesn't include those Nixie tubes. I know they are quite expensive. I don't know how much they are now, but they're not cheap. So that project never took off. I think that's my other camera that I use. It's not a high definition one, but it's always nice to have a spare, because if this one I'm using now, which is made by Canon. In fact, I think they're both Canon. Yeah, they are. It's very, very good, and I've used it a lot of times. So that's the Canon. What else is on here? May be interested in. Just general office type bits and bobs. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Oh, one thing with these Nixie tubes, they are like well, they are not like a neon lamp. It's a neon lamp with several electrodes. Each one indicates a number, as you can see. A close up of it there. They are fascinating. They're not new. They're not new by any means. Once again, going back to my younger days, oh, if I could do it now, I'd love to. There was a shop down the Tottenham Court Road, I think it was Tottenham Court Road, called Proops. Now, a lot of you will remember that name. I spent a lot of my younger days in that shop, which it had a long, it was not particularly wide, but it went back a long way. I think you went down a couple of steps, and it was all surplus stuff, ex-army, ex-government, and you never knew what you were going to find. There could be anything in there. It was a Aladdin's cave, you might say. This was years before the good old boot sale came about. Boot sales virtually took over, particularly the Wimbledon one, which unfortunately is no more, but there's one taken over at St Heliers, just across the road from the hospital. But unfortunately they're having a winter break, so they won't be starting up till May. I don't know if I can wait that long. I'm going to have to. Anyhow, getting back to it, this Proops they would sell these Nixie tubes, ex-government stuff again. They weren't as large as the one we're looking at now, but they had them, and it was a fascinating place. I bought many bits and bobs there. And while uptown, of course, there was Lisle Street with various shops. There's one shop there, I don't know the name of it. They sold the old telephones, and that probably made me interested in the older phones. Another shop, something trading, service trading was it called? It was in Lisle Street, or that area, and they sold a range, presumably for the theatrical side of things, black glass lamps, the old UV. And they had a wide range of those. Those ones would have used the really good quality glass, Woods glass it's called. Woods glass is the one that allows the certain UV rays to pass through while filtering out the others.